Life is Strange. The video game Life is Strange is also pretty weird. It's often hailed as a better example of a narrative-driven game than the likes of, say, Telltale games. I'd agree, honestly, to some extent. Life is Strange definitely feels less by the numbers than the average Telltale game, and while the writing and voice acting is kinda all over the place, it does a good job of painting a picture, and mostly accomplishes what it wants to accomplish. That's why it's a shame they completely botched the ending. If you don't know, Life is Strange is the story of 5 days in the shoes of a girl named Max Caulfield, who suddenly discovers she has the ability to rewind time. After using that power to save a girl who turns out to be her best friend Chloe, they begin hanging out and gradually unravel the mystery of what happened to Chloe's friend Rachel. All that is fine, honestly. It works pretty well, there are some good emotional gut punches, and they play around with Max's time power a bit. The two problems that this part of the game has is the inconsistency with how your time powers work. For example, many puzzles involve taking an item with you back in time, but early on you're given the choice to either help someone who's in trouble or take a photo of them for evidence. And for some reason this is treated like a binary choice, despite your ability to go back in time. The other, more general issue is the voice acting. It's a weird kind of bad, where it sometimes feels like characters don't know what they're meant to say. Take this line read here. It seems like it should be something like, "Of course, I am baked," but instead, it comes off like he's responding to someone asking if he's high.
You crack me up, Maxter. Of course I'm baked, so I'll laugh at anything.
But I personally find that stuff easy to overlook for the sake of the spirit of what the story is going for. The thing I can't ignore appears the second you start the game. In theory, the antagonist of the game is a giant tornado. See, time travel isn't the only supernatural element to Life is Strange. There are ghostly apparitions and other strange happenings. The game ends up trying to go down a butterfly effect route, that Max saving Chloe is somehow the cause to all the strange phenomena. Throughout the game, the timeline seemingly tries to correct itself. Chloe repeatedly dies and Max has to keep saving her. The problem with this paranormal element is that there's too much focus on it. The game fails to establish any rules or motive, to the point where they eventually try to say it doesn't matter.
Without you, my powers wouldn't even exist. And for whatever scientific, mystical reason that we'll obviously never figure out, we were meant to be together at this exact moment in history.
But they try and have their cake and eat it too. See, right off the bat, the problem is self-created. Max has a vision of the tornado at the start of the game. It freaks her out and she goes to the bathroom, where she saves Chloe. This seemingly causes the tornado, except that apparently the whole point was to let Chloe die and apparently prevent the tornado, except that that would all happen normally if she hadn't had a vision of the tornado in the first place. It's weird. Seemingly the time gods or whatever only care about Chloe dying. Nothing really changes depending on how much Max manipulates time, and anything she does before the bathroom scene isn't undone, but that never causes any issues. Even when Max completely redoes the timeline so that Chloe's dad never dies and she lives a completely different life, that doesn't cause the tornado to show up years early. Instead, it works exactly the same as it does in the main timeline. But the point where it all really starts to fall apart is the near-end dream sequence. This part goes on way too long. What starts off as an unnerving sequence quickly falls into parody. The fourth wall gets broken and the dialogue becomes incredibly silly, full of inside jokes about the game.
There's no way I'm saying that. No way.
Hey, babe, who wants to go ape?
Oh no. Bottles. This might be hell.
Those were my beans, Max! Those were my fucking beans!
Damn, Victoria. You're a real woman. Not a little girl like Max.
I fucking love your tats, Chloe. You're so hot. I can't believe it took us so long to hook up.
There's some neat ideas in the sequence, but as a whole it definitely detracts from the game, especially if you haven't made particularly bad choices, because then the part of the game that criticizes you for your bad choices falls pretty flat.
Max, why did you stop me from jumping? What kind of friend are you? You never understood me, or what happened to me. Now my family will never leave me alone.
She's just using you, dude. Like, she even asked you to end her life and do what she couldn't do by herself.
In that part, where they criticize your choices, is the crux to all of this. Max encounters another Max, who talks about being a Max she left behind, implying that every time Max goes back in time, that timeline continues to exist. But this is immediately dropped when a Dream Chloe or something shows up and yells at Dream Max. Then you're treated to a recap of literally every scene of Chloe and Max interacting from the entire game. This would have been a great moment to build on the timeline idea. Rather than simply recapping the scenes, they could have used this moment to show what happened to the timelines you abandoned. Instead, it's literally a recap, followed by Chloe saying that Max needs to go back in time and choose not to save her. The problem here is her reasoning is based on nothing. She just randomly assumes the tornado is caused by her surviving and immediately offers up her life. It ends up being true, obviously, but it doesn't have proper build-up. That's the problem with Life is Strange at the end of the day. It leans way too hard on the supernatural elements, yet doesn't devote nearly enough time to fleshing it out. The game would be drastically better if the only supernatural thing that factored into the plot was time travel. But then they'd have to think of a better motive to kill Chloe than this giant tornado will kill us all. And, well, they didn't. Oh well. Life is so not fair.